I am Andrew Lawton. I'm a journalist with True North, and I'm also the author of the book called The Freedom Convoy, the inside story of 3 weeks that shook the world. And in my spare time, I am an amateur photographer of abandoned buildings. Probably about 9-10 years ago, I learned that there was this community called urban explorers of people that just go around and take pictures of abandoned buildings. I didn't know this really existed, but I immediately clicked with it because I had driven by these old abandoned houses in my city and outside and thought they were so cool and wondered what it was like to be inside. And then I sort of learned there's like a group of organized professional trespassers. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this. There was this one that completely a strong breeze would blow it over. So it wasn't particularly exceptional, but I went in and I just sort of had this thrill of looking at this old abandoned place. And then I started to sort of professionalize a little bit and get a new camera and meet up with other people around my province that were doing this. And now I've been to hundreds, at least well over 100 of places, from abandoned hospitals to houses to industrial facilities. And just as a hobby, never interested in a career, but a lot of fun just trying to capture this old sort of history that exists in buildings. I live in London, Ontario. I don't know if I do 5 outdoor things in London, Ontario, come to think of it, but I will say London is a city of about 400,000, and it's just a couple hours from Toronto. For the longest time growing up, it always felt like a very boring city because you had to go to Toronto to do stuff. But when COVID hit and I'm working from home and stuff like that, I really started appreciating just being in a city that has parks and trees, and I get to have a house and I get to have land and all that. So in London, I just love all the trails. We have this beautiful river that goes through London. It's not a good smelling river, but beautiful river called the Thames River, named after the one in the other London. And just walking along the trails down there. I don't live in a rural part. I live in the city, but we have foxes and wild turkeys and deer that come through our properties. I just like being in a spot that feels a little bit like Snow White's Village sometimes. I think you've got a lot of people that are ideologues, that just are committed to this green energy idea. They don't like the oil and gas sector. They don't want to like the oil and gas sector. I think there's also a group of people, though, outside of that have been sold a bill of goods that just isn't accurate. And a lot of Canadians that don't understand all the stuff that the oil and gas sector has done to achieve the objectives that a lot of the critics of the energy sector say are important. And also people that don't realize how essential oil is. It isn't just about oil. It's something that is so much more fundamental and this building block of so much of the world and so much industry. I think part of the reason it's under attack is because people don't understand what the energy sector is and how broad and diverse that sector is, not just in terms of who makes it up, but also in terms of what that sector does and what it's responsible for in Canada and around the world. And I think that the oil and gas sector hasn't always done a good job of communicating that. I know just from a media perspective, there's a lot of fear. A lot of people in the industry don't want to speak out because they're so used to getting piled on. I think being more forthright, being more proactive, and some groups are doing a tremendously good job at that, but I think that's key. And I think also calling out the untruths. A lot of the stuff that you've been doing, I think, is exceptional on this. I think it's important to note that of the critics of the industry, there are the people that you're never going to convince, that are just hell-bent on their belief. But there is a group of people that I think, if they were told the truth, would come over. And I think that side is a really important group to capture. Well, I do my show, The Andrew Lawton Show, at True North, which is at tnc.news, and I'm also on Twitter at Andrew Lawton.